It's good scan. It's good scan.
All right, it's time to call the Farragut Beer Board for January 10th, 2019 to order. First item is approval of minutes. Has the board had a chance to review the minutes of the last meeting?
Move to approve.
Second.
Okay. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion passes. First item of business is, before I do that, I'm going to make sure everybody understands the purpose of this meeting is to issue a beer license and to subject penalties to those that violate our beer ordinance. So the first item is the beer permit request. It's approval of a Class 3 on-premise hotel motel permit for Hampton Inn and Suites Farragut, located at 11340 Campbell Lakes Drive.
Yes, sir. This is an existing business that is changing ownership, so they do have a permit currently, and all the paperwork is in order, and the motion is to approve the Class 3 on-premise hotel motel beer permit for the Hampton Inn and Suites at 11340 Campbell Lakes Drive.
I'm going to move to approve a Class 3 on-premise hotel motel beer permit for Hampton Inn and Suites, 11340 Campbell Lakes Drive.
Second.
All right, is there a representative? Would you step up to the podium, please? State your name and address, home address.
Yeah, Darren Talent. I'm the general manager at the Hampton Inn and Suites. Do you want my home address or
Home.
business? Home. 1300 Hickory Oak Lane, 37919.
And tell us a little bit what's going on here. Change of ownership, I understand, so,
Yeah, it's just change of the who's owning the asset. It's still going to be a Hampton Inn, still same management company running it. Everything's staying the same, just change of ownership. So,
okay,
And Darren's been a long-time manager, so he knows the drill.
yep.
all right.
I have a question. Just noticed, I haven't noticed this before, the release of a local arrest record. Is that a new thing that we're seeing?
No, we always get those.
Oh, we do? Okay. I'm sorry.
Sometimes when they submit them, it might look a little bit different than when Detective, his name's Wolfie, they all call him Wolfie, when he just sends them to us.
Tire?
He
Yes.
did,
Yeah,
and I
okay.
can't think of the
All right.
the new,
Yep.
but yes, we do get those.
Okay. Just asking. I have no other questions.
Any further questions or comments?
No.
All right, all in favor, say aye. Aye. Opposed? Motion passes.
Thank you.
Congratulations, you
Appreciate
got your beer
it. Thank
permit. Thank you. Any other business for the beer board? If not, we are adjourned.
Okay, sorry. I've never heard that complaint before.
That's a new one.
Those in TV land probably cannot. We want to make sure.
Yes.
Yeah. Oh, you want to walk them down. Okay. Okay, the time is approximately 7 p.m., and I'll call to order the January 10th, 2019 Farragut Board and Mayor and Alderman meeting. Okay, we'll first have a prayer by Pastor Jamie DeWalt, First Baptist Concord, and it will be followed by the Pledge of Allegiance to our country's flag.
Let's pray. Lord Jesus, we bow before you, and Lord, your word says where two or more are gathered in the name of Jesus, then there you are with them. So we invite you, Jesus, Holy Spirit, Father, to be in this room tonight. Lord, I lift up these men and women who have been called to lead our great city and our great town of Farragut. Lord, I ask that you would fill them with supernatural wisdom and discernment that comes only from you. Not just knowledge and experience, but wisdom and discernment. God, I ask that you would also fill them with love. Lord, the greatest of all virtues. Lord, I ask that you would give them vision to know what's ahead for us. Lord, I ask that you would give them compassion when that's needed. Lord, I ask that you would fill them with humility. Lord, I thank you so much for their servant hearts, that they would be willing to put in so many hours to provide and give vision and service to this great town of which I live. And God, we want, no matter what we do, in all the business that we do, we want to glorify and honor you because you are worthy. And so we ask that no matter what happens tonight, that you are honored. In the name of Jesus I pray. Amen.
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 Where's the flag? Oh.
Bring it up.
and the Pledge of Allegiance. I
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Two. Color Guard retreat. Color Guard dismissed.
Thank you, guys. Appreciate that. Okay, next will be the approval of the agenda. Do I have a motion to approve the adoption of this meeting's posted agenda?
Move to approve.
Second.
Are there any changes?
No, sir.
None? Okay, I have a motion and a second. All in favor say yes.
Yes.
Motion to adopt the agenda as posted for this meeting has been approved. Okay, mayor's report. The mayor has nothing to report, but will yield the floor to the vice mayor.
I did want to make one announcement, just to remind everyone. Next week, the 16th, is the anniversary of the Town of Farragut's incorporation. We will be 39 years old on the 16th, and that's something to celebrate. Oh, and we are very blessed to have our district, our 5th District, Knox County Commissioner, John Schoonmaker, in the audience visiting us. So it's always great to see your face. Thank you, John, for being here.
Okay, anything else from the other aldermen?
I have nothing.
None? Okay. Okay, let's see here. Citizens Forum, do we have anybody signed up to speak?
I do. We have 2 speakers tonight. Oh, actually, that comes, never mind. That comes under our agenda item.
Okay.
So no, we
Okay.
do not.
Okay, if not, then we'll move on. Let's see, approval of the minutes. Are there any changes to the posted December 13th, 2018 meeting?
No, sir.
minutes? None?
I'm going to move to approve.
I'll second.
Okay, we have a motion to approve and a second. All in favor, vote yes.
Yes.
Okay, the minutes have been approved. Okay, business items. We have 2 business items on the agenda tonight. The first one will be the approval of Resolution R 2019-01, appointment of the Farragut Municipal Judge.
Yes, sir. In accordance with the Town of Farragut Municipal Code, Chapter 12, Section 12-2, the office of the municipal judge shall be filled by resolution of appointment by the Board of Mayor and Aldermen. Any person appointed to the office of municipal judge shall hold a bachelorette degree from an accredited university or college, shall be at least 30 years of age, and have been a resident of the town for a period of 1 year preceding the election of office. The normal term of the office for any officer appointed pursuant to Section 3-105 shall be for 1 year, and such officer shall serve thereafter until such officer's successor has been appointed and is sworn in unless otherwise provided. Keith Alley is our current municipal judge. He was first appointed in 2016 and has agreed to serve another term. Motion is to approve Resolution R-2019-01, appointment of Keith Alley as the Town of Farragut municipal judge.
Okay, do I have a motion to approve Resolution R 2019-01?
I'll move to approve.
Second.
Okay, discussion? No discussion? Okay.
I'll say I'm thrilled that you're willing to continue to serve in this role, Keith. We really appreciate it.
We appreciate the job you do. Thank you.
Okay, we have a motion and a second. All in favor, vote yes.
Yes.
Okay, let the record show that the motion to approve the appointment of the Honorable Keith Alley as the Town of Farragut Municipal Judge has been approved. Okay, next will be the approval of Resolution R 2019-02, a resolution by the Board of Mayor and Aldermen of the Town of Farragut to dissolve the Personnel Committee and Economic Development Advisory Committee.
Thank you, Mayor. The Board of Mayor and Aldermen held a workshop in December, on December 13th, to review all of the town's boards and commissions, reviewed all of their charters, their bylaws, the responsibilities that they have. And after a lot of discussion, and due to a limited role of both committees have been serving over the last few years, the board requested staff prepare the following resolution that would dissolve both the Personnel and the Economic Development Advisory Committees. So the proposed motion is to approve Resolution R-2019-02 as attached. I'll be happy to try to answer any questions the board may have.
I'll move to approve Resolution R 2019-02.
Second.
Discussion?
We do have two speakers.
Okay.
Our first one is John Nels.
Okay, sir, would you please state your name and address for the record?
John Nels, 221 Smith Road in Farragut, also a member of the Personnel Committee. I have chosen to speak tonight. Chairman Underwood is with us also. He has decided not to speak as his position's already been made, I believe, in correspondence that hopefully all of you have received and seen. If not, I'm sure you could answer questions. I think this is a very bad idea, this proposed resolution. First of all, since it was a workshop, I have to confess I knew nothing about it. Maybe there was an agenda, but certainly the committees were not contacted in such a manner. The committees are established to advise the Board of Mayor and Aldermen. If there is a question on the efficacy of a committee or its operation, then the Board of Mayor and Aldermen then should meet with the committee. That would only make sense, to ask questions, to get feedback, and so forth. It should definitely not come from town staff. Town staff basically is irrelevant when it comes to these committees. The committees are established to advise the Board of Mayor and Aldermen, period. That is their function. The Independent Citizens Review Committee, what we do is delve into the issues of conditions of employment, personnel matters, and so forth, to try and understand what's happening, to recommend changes, of which we have numerous times, and then present something to the Board of Mayor and Aldermen such that you don't have to go into hours of detail and so forth to try and understand what's going on. In fact, I think that the board should be embracing citizen involvement in town government rather than distancing itself from it. So I think that's something that needs to be considered as well. If this resolution were approved, then basically the town administrator would have sole authority for all issues of personnel, hiring, job descriptions, salary, and so forth and so on, which as a citizen and resident of Farragut, I definitely would not be in favor of that. I would like to have an independent citizens review panel look at that. And of course, the committee is not binding. It's simply an advisory to the Board of Mayor and Aldermen, which you all make the decisions, the final decisions anyway. Our job is to gather information and to apply expertise, of which the board has a great deal in labor law, human resources management, and so forth on that committee. And I think it's a very, very valuable asset. But really, it comes down, well, I know there's going to be another, the ordinance comes up for reading next. But every Board of Mayor and Aldermen for the past 39 years now has thought this committee a good idea. And so what I would like to know is which alderman, see, I wasn't at the workshop, but I'd like to know which alderman thought that the town and the board would be better served by the dissolution of this committee. The committee doesn't cost anything. In fact, when you read in the town ordinance on the functions of the committee, it is to review and recommend to the Board of Mayor and Aldermen personnel policies for town employees, to review proposed job descriptions for personnel positions with the town, review proposed and existing salaries for the town positions, which we have done and made changes to some of those positions as well. Let's see here. I have to read my own handwriting. assist the town administrator and the Board of Mayor and Aldermen in recruitment and selection of personnel. Assist, and then here's number 5, which is kind of interesting. I think it's kind of slipped under the rug a little bit, but it says, assist the Board of Mayor and Aldermen in conducting an annual performance evaluation of the town administrator. And it's kind of interesting when you look at the town ordinances in the list, the Personnel Committee is the very first one that's established. And so obviously there was a belief that it's a very important committee. And so really it comes down, am I out of time?
Yes.
Okay. It just comes down to the simple question of how is the town and the board better served by the dissolution of this committee? Thank you very much.
Oh, I'm
Another
sorry.
one?
We do. It's Robin Hill, 11509 Mountain View Road.
My name is Robin Hill. I live at 11504 Mountain View Road, Farragut, Tennessee, 37934. I've lived in that residence since 1965. I wanted to just have a minute of reflection, but 78 years ago, I was doing the same thing that these scouts did then when I was 14 years old. There's a slight change. There have been 2 words added to the Pledge of Independence, the Pledge of Allegiance, which I still have a hard time saying since I learned it the other way. But anyway, I thank the Scouts for participating in the town's government, and I appreciate the interest that young folks now have in government. And this group is unique. Any Scout is unique for that matter. So thank you very much. Now, Ms. Potvin made my point. 39 years ago, she said, we started the town. At that time, I was a member of the board of the county commissioners, then called Quarterly County Court. Same thing Schoonmakers belongs to now, except slightly altered in form. I was just determined that the town could never make it as a town without a tax. And when they said the founders said they were going to do it with no tax rate, I said, that's great. And it happened. We had a population of about 2,500 people. Now we've got a population of about 24,000. And we're about topped out at population because we've just about built on all the land there is in the town. But on the other hand, the population can grow if we have apartments and things like that increases the population. We're a town that was started because the citizens here felt like that they were getting the short end of the deal on zoning matters in particular from the county quarterly. It wasn't done by the county quarterly court then, it was done by the county commission, which was 3 members. And that's a long story, but which I'll tell you sometime. But the things that were happening to us as a growing community were not nice. We wanted to see the community staying as much as possible the way it was, while recognizing that we have a lot of growth and will have a lot of growth. Growth was west, go west, young people, and so they did. But somewhere along the way, we've seemed to have lost our bearing in terms of citizen participation in the town. one way the citizens participate in the town, and that I'm not a member of either one of these committees. I don't go to the Personnel Committee meeting because they haven't met this year, I don't think. But the Economic Development Committee meets monthly, or at least did until this group decided to abolish it. And I think that of all the things that we need to be paying attention to now, economic development in the town is absolutely important. It's preeminent. And without a committee of townspeople who think out of the box sometimes, hopefully, to give the Board of Mayor and Aldermen some good guidance, which is the way the description is written, we just go astray. It's not the town administrator's business to make policy. He's an administrator and is here to enforce and complete all of the things that you all, as a city board of aldermen, who are equivalent to a corporate board of directors, are here to set policy, set short and long-term goals, measure performance against those goals, and move on to the next year, and constantly alter the way the committee operates in view of how the town operates and what we need to do. One of the things that you all who've been to committee meetings, this committee meeting, will know that I have always thought that this town ought to be developing possibilities for businesses to start here, and businesses that were not dependent on tourists. And the Economic Development Committee should be doing that. If you all need to have them do something different, I would suggest that you defer this for 2 months for both these committees. Call a town meeting with all of you present. Have each committee chair mandatorily be there, or his vice chair, and have them explain what they do, what they've done in the past, and you tell them what you want them to do in the next 6 months if they don't propose some things for you to do. But this deletion of these committees was done in probably about a 15-minute workshop. And there are more than a dozen committees. You can't possibly have known what that was.
Thank you, Bob.
What they were doing. I'll quit. But anyway, you got my point, I think.
Yes, sir.
And I appreciate the opportunity to speak as a citizen, which I'm an interested citizen, and I don't ever intend to stop being that as long as I can live, which is when another 2 days will be 90.5 years.
Thank you, sir.
We appreciate that, Bob.
I want to thank both of you for your time to address the board. And okay, now we can have a discussion by the board, mayor, and alderman. And I want to start by thanking all the past members for their service on both committees. And I would also like to welcome each to apply for one of the other active committees in the future. The strength of our town is really the passion of our volunteers. So, anyway,
Of which we all are as well, volunteers. I put a few notes together because I know that I had been thinking about this for some time. The Personnel Committee was created in the mid-'80s. It was at a time when the town was small and the board needed assistance in all things regarding personnel, as we didn't have anyone in a personnel position. But our town has grown and matured considerably over the years. Janet Curry was hired in 2008 to fill the role of the Human Resources Manager in a full-time manner. She is SHRM certified and maintains that certification through the attendance of continuing education for an average of 20 hours a year. She maintains a loose connection with a group of HR managers in both the public and private sector to keep abreast of what's going on out in the government field, but as well as the private industry. We utilize the consulting services of Springstead to advise us on a variety of HR matters and specifically addresses the town's unique needs, such as scoring and rating the positions for staff we have identified a need for. Finally, we rely on our attorneys for our legal issues regarding employment, including any policy changes and keeping up on state and federal requirements. As we all know, the employment world has become more and more litigious, and we need to tread very carefully when it comes to legal matters. I believe with all that we have in place, the need for a personnel committee has been reduced substantially. I think where we need an extra pair of eyes is when we're handling big policy changes or during a comprehensive classification or compensation study. This can be handled with an ad hoc committee, and I believe an ad hoc committee should include 3 or 4 citizens with HR experience and at least one of our board members. That can be an ad hoc committee of the same people, or it can come and go and different people each time we look at it, but I think most of the things that we're looking at could be handled that way. I feel that same way about the EDAC, and as an example, Christine Horvega has been pursuing the entrepreneur, taking a look at the entrepreneur program, and we have broken that out into an ad hoc committee. I'm working with her directly to continue to explore those opportunities and see how they fit with the town of Farragut. So that's not going away. Really, our economic development has moved to our tourism committee. I think the flaw with our EDAC is that it is citizens, and we are at a point where we really need, and that can be handled on an ad hoc basis, we need certain things, we need guidance from like a commercial realtor or a commercial banker or a small business administrator. We need guidance in particular specific things to pursue policies and to pursue opportunities. It's difficult when you're working with citizens who that don't have that background. They have a great desire to see us attract small businesses. I always speak small businesses because that's where my heart is. They don't quite know how to do that. But I would say as a final note, whether this board maintains this personnel committee, whether in the form of a regular standing committee or as an ad hoc committee, the committee is intended to serve as an advisory role. The committee does not provide citizen oversight. The Board of Mayor and Aldermen provides citizen oversight. We were elected to be informed and educated about the issues and challenges facing the town of Farragut and to set policy to best address those issues and challenges. The town administrator is tasked with carrying out the policies set by the Board of Mayor and Aldermen. I will say he does not have sole authority on what those functions serve as. We review those with David. In fact, I added the business liaison position or function to both the assistant town administrator and the building official because I think that's an important aspect of both of those positions that I came in asking for. This is what I ran on. I wanted to have a business liaison situation where small business owners could come in, ask the questions, get the guidance they need, and both the building official and the town administrative, the assistant to the town administrator now have that as one of their responsibilities. I will go on to further say that David, in the years that he's been here, has always demonstrated a prudent and conservative manner in hiring employees. The first position that left when he came on was the planner. That was about 10 months into his tenure here. The planner left. He looked at the functions. The community development director at that time wanted to rehire that position. He said, no, these functions can be absorbed by the current existing personnel, and he did not rehire that position. Now, if government did what government always done, he would have just rehired that position. And more recently, the assistant town administrator left us. And I had actually identified him as being the business liaison person. David took the time to stop, think about what we actually needed, and lowered that down a few grades to an assistant to the town administrator. He took the time to make sure that we were doing what we needed, not necessarily what was already paid for in the budget. And a present example is our Parks and Recs administrative assistant just left. We know we are opening up a community center, and we are going to need some different functions carried out with that position. So David is sitting down with Sue, and they're working through, okay, what are we going to need from this person? They'll take that position, they'll put the functions, Janet will put it into a form, send it off to Springstead, they will score it and figure out what we need to advertise that position at. That's how things are done, very, very prudently, very thoughtfully. The town of Farragut has always lived leanly. That has always been the principle. I value that. That's one of the things I love about town of Farragut. We do things differently. We've always done things differently. That's not going to change. That's part of our culture. And that's not going to change with this personnel committee. Moving that over into these different entities has kind of made the personnel committee meets about once a year now. They're not in the building. I can say from my perspective, I see Ron Williams and Ron Pinchuk and I are in here on a weekly basis, on some weeks on a daily basis. We are very well informed as to what's going on the ground, and very concerned about making sure that we're making the right personnel decisions and maintaining the bottom line that we are leanly but effectively personnel committees. I mean, personnel is developed that way. So that's my thoughts.
I got a few comments. First of all, I agree wholeheartedly with your comments, Alderman Povlin. Very well said. I want to make a point that we did not take this action lightly. As far as the EDAC is concerned, before I was elected to this board 5 years ago, I chaired that committee. And even back then, the EDAC had kind of run its course as to what we could do and how effective we were. And there was discussion even then as to whether or not the committee needed to be dissolved. And that's 5 years, and we've continued and struggled to come up with programs and initiatives for the group to work on. And I think the business incubator program that Alderman Povlin mentioned that Christine Horvega is working on, and they're working on it as an ad hoc type committee, I think is the way to go. The FBA and the tourism visitor committee, I think, is where the action is now. And if we do have something special, a special project, again, we can go with an ad hoc type of committee. The personnel committee, 4 years ago, I heard there was discussion as to whether or not we needed the personnel committee back then. We've stayed with it. Again, this is not a knee-jerk reaction. It's not something we're acting on quickly. This discussion has been around for about 4 years. And with our HR person and with the way things have been run, and the committee maybe meeting once a year, it's decided that we don't think we need this committee at this time. And again, if something comes up, we can always create an ad hoc type committee. So I'm in favor of this resolution, and I don't have anything else to say, but I think we're doing the right thing.
I just want to say, Mr. Nels, thank you again for your service to the town and participating in the committee and all the other committee members. I don't want to reiterate what's already been said. I support both Vice Mayor Povlin and Alderman Pinchuk's comments. The only other comment I was going to make is I get lots of assistance by the community in giving me feedback on town staff, especially David. And so I'll use that feedback as we together as a board do any kind of evaluation of his performance. But I think that he does a fantastic job. And so we appreciate all the work that you do as well. And again, I think Alderman Pinchuk really kind of summarized it, that the activities of the Personnel Committee and the Economic Committee are really being completed by other committees now. And so we welcome you applying for those and want you to be involved in those as much as you can.
Drew?
I don't have anything to add that's not already been said. You know, I appreciate the role that especially the Personnel Committee has played over the years, and you know, the importance of it early on when we didn't have the town staff that we now do, with a lawyer now on staff, the Springstead consultants, and Janet in HR. just to echo what they said, I think we have those bases covered with the ability to use an ad hoc committee when needed. So more than, very appreciative of the service and time that's been spent over the years, but that's where my head's at as well.
Okay, that pretty well covers it. We have a motion and a second on the floor for approval of Resolution R 2019-2. I'll now ask for a roll call vote.
Alderman Meyer.
Yes.
Alderman Pinchuk.
Yes.
Alderman Povlin.
Yes.
Mayor Williams.
Yes.
Alderman Burnett.
Yes.
Okay, let the record show the approval of Resolution R 2019-2. Okay, next will be ordinances. We have two ordinances to consider. Both will be first reading. Ordinance 19-01, an ordinance to amend the text of Farragut zoning ordinance 86-18 as amended pursuant to authority granted by Section 13-4-201 Tennessee Code annotated by amending Chapter 4, General Provisions and Exemptions, Section 20, Parking and Loading, Subsection A, Part 3, number of parking spaces required to provide for a new bicycle parking standards. Mark, you want to?
I probably should have added another sentence to that or so. It's not long enough. This is basically probably a pretty simple request. It came about initially as a result of a question for a project that obtained site plan approval several months ago for a mini warehouse project north of the interstate that's now under construction. And they had questioned the bicycle parking provisions of the town. The town's current requirements for bicycle parking applies to all uses except for single and two-family residential. And it has a fixed one bicycle parking space for every 5,000 square feet of gross floor area of the building. There's no distinction for different types of uses and what might be typical parking demands both for the bicycles and vehicles. So it does on occasion create an issue for certain uses like a mini warehouse or potentially like a nursing home that might be a large building but not have a real high demand for bicycle parking. So what we tried to do, we looked at a number of other communities, kind of what they were doing, what some model ordinances throughout the country have applied with regards to bicycle parking, and we felt that it was more logical to tie the bicycle parking requirements to the number of required motor vehicle spaces. Because that would better address the kind of the use and demand issue that the current language doesn't really address. It would make the standards, frankly, more clear, more predictable, in the staff's opinion, more logical and easier to implement. Because typically the uses that would have potentially a high bicycle parking requirement would also be the same uses that would likely have high vehicular parking, like a restaurant, for example. So the development of Ordinance 1901 came about through 2 workshop sessions with the Planning Commission. In addition to addressing the provisions for bicycle parking, we've also added some language in the zoning ordinance to clarify some things with regards to bicycle parking. For example, the type of bicycle parking facilities that would be appropriate and ones that wouldn't be as appropriate. You want to have facilities where you can affix the bicycle in at least 2 places. And if you have facilities that don't do that, the bicycle's apt to fall over or potentially be stolen. So that's an issue. And then we also addressed where bicycle parking should be situated on a site and how it should be constructed. So those are things that we haven't typically had issues with, but we felt while we're updating this section of the zoning ordinance, that we could just add that in there for clarification to reflect pretty much how we have treated facilities, as we do inspections and plans review. So if y'all have any questions, I'll be happy to try to answer those. This was unanimously recommended for approval by the Planning Commission in December, and the staff recommends approval of ordinance 1901 on first reading.
Approve ordinance 1901 on first reading.
I'll second.
Okay.
Mr. Mayor, may I make a comment?
That'd be discussion, and I guess, Mr. Hill, you want to start off?
Yeah. The town of Farragut is, as pointed out, old. I have gotten old in this town. I have to use this now to get around safely. John's in a wheelchair. This town is, for the most part, has a great large contingent of older people. Some of you on that board will be where I am 10 years from now. And I don't believe that any parking lot in town has enough handicap parking places for the handicaps' needs. And I urge the Planning Commission to make a careful study of that, because walking somewhere when the road is rough or when traffic is heavy, for a handicapped person is a great deal more problem than for a person who's not handicapped. And I would like to see this parking ordinance be handicap friendly in terms of getting parking places next to places where the people need to go in, restaurant entrances, doctor's offices, grocery stores. All of those things are places where old folks go every day. And I don't think we provide enough parking places for them, and I'd urge you to do more.
Thank
Okay.
you, Mr. Hill.
Thank you, Mr. Hill. That's something we'll take into consideration for sure. Okay, discussion by the board. None?
I have none.
None. Okay, we have a motion and a second to approve ordinance 19-01. Now, let's see here. For a vote. All in favor, say yes.
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 Okay. Let the record show that the ordinance 19-01 has been approved on first reading. Okay, next will be ordinance 19-02. This is an ordinance to delete in its entirety the subpart A, General Ordinances, Chapter 2, Administration, Article 5, Boards and Committees and Commissions, Division 2, Personnel Committee of the Farragut Municipal Code.
Sorry, Mayor.
Any explanation?
This is just a follow-up from Resolution 19-02 that the board just recently adopted. Since the Personnel Committee was actually in the municipal code, this will actually delete that committee from the code if you approve this ordinance on 1902 on first reading.
I'm going to move to approve ordinance 1902 on first reading.
And I'll second it.
Okay, discussion? Anyone signed up?
Yes, sir.
None? Okay. Okay, I have a motion and a second to approve ordinance 19-02. I'll now again ask for a roll call vote.
Alderman Pinchuk.
Yes.
Alderman Poplin.
Yes.
Mayor Williams.
Yes.
Yes.
Alderman Meyer.
Yes.
Okay, let the record show the approval of the ordinance 19-02 on the first reading. Okay, next will be the town administrator's report.
I have nothing to report tonight, Mayor.
I'm just going to add a little bit, because you know how I like to do my research through stuff, and I did a lot of research because I knew this was going to be a controversial issue to speak of. So I went back and I kind of reviewed some of the numbers from our fiscal year 2010 CAFR to our fiscal year 2018 CAFR, and I was highly encouraged by what I learned. And I have a husband who loves Excel, so he likes to do all the calculations. So comparing our revenues from fiscal year 2010 to 18, we are up 76%, from 7.5 million to 13.1 or 13.2 million. Our expenditures, on the contrary, have only gone up 32%, from 4.7 to 6.2. Our total actual value is up 26% from $2.78 billion to $3.52 billion. Our total net assets are up 87% from 38.6 to 72.2. All of these, I looked at these numbers and I was very encouraged by what we're seeing happening in our town. I know that David has been a wonderful addition to helping us, guide us to be in such a secure position. So I really appreciate the efforts that you have produced and what they've produced over the years, David. Thank you.
Well, I definitely cannot do it by myself. I have a absolutely wonderful staff that helps me get everything done, and obviously great leadership from our Board of Mayor and Aldermen help set the right policies in place to make those things happen. So it's a good group, and I certainly enjoy working here, and I know most of our employees do too, hopefully. So.
Okay, thank you, David. Thank you, Alderman Pavlin. Town Attorney's report.
Thankfully, I have nothing to report.
Thank you, sir.
Always a relief to hear.
Okay. The time is approximately 7:45, and the January 10th, 2019 Farragut Board of Mayor and Aldermen is now adjourned.